Clara Barton was 75 when she moved to her home in Glen Echo. She was 59 when she was chosen to be the first president of the newly formed American Association of the Red Cross. Her desire to help started early on.
Clara Barton is most famous for her work in the American Civil War, and she had earned her nickname Angel of the Battlefield while working in Maryland after the Battle of Antietam. Many history books will call her a Civil War nurse, but she was never a true nurse. She was never trained as a nurse, and that was not an option available to women during her childhood.
When the Civil War broke out, Clara Barton was drawn to help. She worked tirelessly throughout the war to bring medical care to injured soldiers. When the war ended, her work wasn't done. She saw another need and sought to fill it.
The United States Army did not have a program to notify families of men who had passed on in prison camps, and Clara Barton asked permission to work with them. She traveled to Annapolis and interviewed former prisoners and started to write letters back to families. She established an office of correspondence with the Friends of the Missing Men of the United States Army, and in 4 years of running this program had answered over 63,000 letters and had identified information for over 22,000 missing men.
In 1869, Clara Barton traveled to Europe for a well-deserved vacation. While there, the Franco-Prussian War broke out. Unable to turn her back on people in need, Miss Barton offered to help with the war relief. She worked with the German Red Cross, part of the International Red Cross, an organization that was new to her.
And she saw a real difference in what could be accomplished with an organization. People who were trained, people who already knew their jobs, supplies that were coming in. It was much more efficient than what she had tried to manage on her own during the American Civil War. One person trying to make a difference versus an organization with many people involved. She wanted the Red Cross in America for the next time American soldiers were involved in warfare.
Upon her return to the United States, Clara Barton lobbied for the establishment of a Red Cross in America. By this time, Clara Barton was a true celebrity, so much so that when the Glen Echo community was being planned, the developers built her a home to associate her name with the community.
So this house was built for her in 1891 by Edward and Edwin Baltsley. They are the original developers of the Glen Echo community. And the Baltsley brothers had originally established Glen Echo as a wonderful summer resort, a place for education and enrichment, a Chautauqua community. All of the Chautauqua buildings that they had built were built with lovely curved architecture, stone construction, and originally Clara Barton's home was supposed to blend with the Chautauqua. It had a massive stone face with a slightly pointed arch at the top of it.
The original probably looked like this inside. For 6 years, it was filled with American Red Cross relief supplies. Then in 1897, Clara Barton decided to make this her home.
The trolleys now have reached the community, so it's much easier to get back and forth to the city of Washington. About 45 minutes, which isn't a bad commute, even by some standards today. But she moves into her Glen Echo building. It is a warehouse, and it's her responsibility to convert everything that is inside this building into usable space.
Today, the home is restored to illustrate her life and how she lived here, with many of her original furnishings. The building has a unique design with a long entrance hallway lined with hidden storage cupboards. The piano, she listened but never played, graces the front parlor. Her family's blue willow china is set on the table, and a painting of her beloved cat Tommy hangs nearby. On the upper 2 stories are several furnished guest rooms in which she housed her staff, along with her own bedroom. But the heart and soul of this building was behind these doors, the first headquarters of the American Red Cross.
She furnishes these rooms as working areas, and she positioned herself in the center room as president of the American Red Cross, and her staff were usually in the office that adjoined her. This was an administrative center. This is where they wrote reports. This is where they compiled information from relief efforts. They were fairly modern for their time. She did have telephone service in the house. She did have the typewriters, which were kept up in good working condition, oiled and cleaned regularly. She herself learned how to type. She had the graphophone, which could be used as a dictation machine, but it also is adjoining the dining room. And people very often will look at the dining room and think, well, why was the family dining room here in the office areas? Her Red Cross staff are like her family. Miss Barton had not married, had no children of her own. When she's here working with the Red Cross people, it's as if the extended family are with her.
Clara Barton died in 1912 at the age of 90 in her bed here at her home. 63 years passed before this house became the Clara Barton National Historic Site. Throughout that time, dedicated colleagues and friends cared for it and its furnishings as a testimony to the angel of the battlefield.